The engagement crisis is not a people problem. It's a systems problem. The engagement crisis inside most organizations is being completely misunderstood. Leaders think they have a motivation problem. They don't. They have a systems problem. Because disengagement is rarely the root issue. It's usually one of the first visible symptoms that the organization itself is no longer designed to operate effectively in the environment it now faces. And that changes everything. Because if the system is the problem, then no amount of engagement initiatives, motivational messaging, or culture campaigns will solve it long term. The real work is not re-engagement. The real work is redesigning the operating system people work inside every day. Why engagement is collapsing? Most organizations respond to disengagement the same way. They launch hostile employee engagement programs, recognition initiatives, wellness campaigns, leadership town halls, culture workshops, surveys, and morale-building exercises. None of these are inherently wrong, but most of them focus on symptoms instead of structure. Because people do not disengage simply because they lack inspiration. They disengage when the system consistently creates friction between effort and impact. Think about what employees experience every day inside many organizations. Decisions move slowly, priorities constantly shift, accountability becomes unclear, collaboration creates complexity, innovation gets trapped in bureaucracy, and adapting to change requires fighting the organization itself. Over time, people stop believing effort creates meaningful movement, and that's when disengagement begins. Not because people stopped caring, but because the system trained them to conserve energy inside an environment that resists responsiveness. The real issue is structural. This is where many organizations misdiagnose the problem. They assume engagement is emotional, but engagement is largely structural. People experience organizations through operating conditions, not through mission statements, not through strategy decks, not through inspirational leadership presentations. They experience organizations through how decisions are made, how quickly action happens, how leadership aligns, how conflict gets resolved, how information flows, and whether the system enables contribution or obstructs it. That means engagement is not just a people metric, it's a systems indicator. Healthy engagement is usually the outcome of clear decision rights, aligned leadership, adaptive structures, operational clarity, coordinated execution, and environments where people can contribute effectively without constantly battling friction. When those conditions break down, engagement eventually breaks down with them. No engagement initiative can sustainably outperform structural dysfunction. Why this is happening now? The reason this problem is accelerating is because most organizations were built for a completely different era. An era where markets moved slower, disruption happened periodically, planning cycles lasted years, and efficiency mattered more than adaptability. But today's environment is different. Organizations are now operating under constant pressure from AI acceleration, like digital disruption or economic instability, geopolitical volatility, shifting workforce expectations, and continuously changing customer behavior. The external environment is evolving faster than most internal systems can respond, and when organizations designed for stability collide with environments demanding continuous adaptation, internal friction explodes. That friction shows up everywhere. Declining engagement, slower execution, initiative fatigue, leadership bottlenecks, organizational exhaustion, and strategic drift. Most companies treat these as separate problems. They're usually connected symptoms of the same underlying issue. The organization itself is no longer designed for continuous renewal. Reinvention can no longer be a project. This is why reinvention itself must change. For decades, companies approached transformation as an event, a restructuring, a turnaround, a strategic reset. The assumption was transform, stabilize, optimize. But the environment no longer allows organizations to stabilize for long, which means reinvention can no longer operate as a temporary initiative. It must become a permanent organizational capability. The organizations outperforming today are not just becoming more agile. They're building systems capable of continuous renewal. They're learning how to sense change earlier, redesign faster, shorten decision cycles, dynamically reallocate resources, reduce structural friction, and adapt continuously without destabilizing execution. This is not simply agility, it's organizational reinvention capacity. And over the next decade, that capability may become one of the most important competitive advantages in business. The leadership shift. This creates an entirely different leadership responsibility. The role of leadership is no longer simply driving execution inside existing systems. The role of leadership is designing systems capable of sustained adaptation. That means leaders must start asking different questions. Where does friction exist? Where do decisions stall? Where does accountability become diffused? Where does collaboration slow responsiveness? Where are outdated structures exhausting high performers? And where is the organization unintentionally resisting the very outcomes it claims to value? Because many organizations today are asking people to operate with modern levels of speed and adaptability. Inside legacy systems built for predictability and control, that tension is unsustainable. Eventually, the system overwhelms the people inside it. The engagement crisis is not fundamentally a morale problem. It is a structural design problem, and the organizations that recognize this early will have a major strategic advantage moving forward. Because the future will not belong exclusively to the organizations with the best strategy or the best technology. It will belong to organizations capable of continuously renewing themselves faster than the environment forces them to. That is the real work of reinvention, not motivating people to survive inside outdated operating models, but redesigning the system itself so people, teams, and leadership can continuously adapt, execute, and evolve together. So the question becomes, is your organization treating the symptom or redesigning the system?